Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development, where we share original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We hope you join us often for practitioner-oriented content around all things related to leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Do you enjoy the Human Capital Innovations Podcast? Please subscribe, leave a review, comment, share, and consider supporting the podcast on Patreon, even at the producer and sponsorship levels. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI Podcast episode, I talk with Kathy Lanzalaco about equipping new college graduates to meet the challenges of a competitive job search. Kathy Lanzalaco, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Hey, thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to be with you today. You're joining us from Buffalo area. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. Today, we're going to be talking about equipping new college graduates to meet the challenges of a competitive job search. And we were just talking in the pre-interview, getting to know each other a little bit. We've been preparing for this episode for a while now, but we were chatting about the current tight labor market. And so it's easy for someone to think, well, it's a buyer's market, right? And I have lots of options. Companies are tripping over themselves to try to find good people. And so I'm going to have lots of opportunity. And while there's truth to that, on the other hand, it's also highly competitive. And so you have to, companies aren't just hiring anybody to fill these positions. They want people who are qualified, and there's lots of highly qualified people. And so you have to learn how to navigate this system, but you also need to be prepared to compete within this really highly competitive, hyper competitive even labor market and the hiring process that you're going to be going through. So for anyone listening who's thinking about maybe making a career move, I hope this will be informative for you. And anyone who's listening who leads a team of people and you have members of your team that are maybe looking for transition or the next opportunity, and you're trying to figure out how you can best support them in their career development, hopefully this will also be helpful for you. As we get started, I wanted to share Kathy's bio with everybody. Kathy Lanzalaco is CEO of Inspire Careers, a full-service career marketing firm based in Buffalo, New York, and serving job seekers across the country. Inspire Careers specializes in career launches for new college graduates and career marketing strategies for executives and career-minded professionals. Inspire Careers is the home of the Inspire Careers Student Professional Launch Program, the only new graduate success program in the country, taking recent college grads on the journey from college student to rising professional and landing jobs they have been dreaming of and working toward. A three-time career changer with 18 years of experience in human resources, Kathy provides insights and strategies that help her clients land jobs and create careers they love. I think all of that is fantastic. What a wonderful background. I'm excited for the conversation. Anything else you would like to share with listeners by way of your background or personal context before we dive on in further?
Yeah, well, my first career, I was a registered nurse. So and then I worked in HR for many years. So I like to share that as well, because I think it's important. Our careers are not linear anymore, and there's so much available for people. And in this era of this great resignation, people want different things. And it's exciting to know that there is a lot of opportunity out there. And just where you see yourself today doesn't mean that's where you're going to be tomorrow. So keep the doors wide open.
Obviously, we can't be all things to all people all the time, and we can't keep our foot in 1,000 doors. So we do have to be, selective in which opportunities we're going to pursue. Yes. But yeah, I'm generally an advocate for keep doors open. Don't shut doors prematurely, because you never know where your future is going to lead you, and you never know where your interests or your needs are going to lead you, what career paths are going to take. And frankly, with disruptive technologies and innovations all around us, we don't know what our current job will look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, let alone what other new types of jobs there might be, new, even entire professions or careers that might emerge that right now aren't even in the thinking of anybody. They're just totally going to be brand new. And so we just need to be flexible, develop your skills, develop competencies that are transferable, and then network and keep your options open. I think that's a really great thing to do. Okay, so as we get started, let's talk about why within this tight labor market, new graduates are still struggling to land jobs. On the one hand, you would think tight labor market, that means I have my pick, and companies are fighting over me. I'm going to have 10 job offers. I get to pick the best one. That's not really what's happening though. So what's going on?
Yeah, you know what? It's a crazy time in the job market, but it's exciting, but it's competitive. And what I'm seeing with the new grads, they're coming out of school, and unfortunately, the time that right, and many of them had disrupted learning. Many of them did not have the internships they expected to. And really, the level of anxiety in the college space right now, that the students and this young adult, this Gen Z that we keep talking about, while it's not an all-inclusive statement, many of them have had such a difficult time that some of them are struggling a little bit as well as to launch. So, when I talk about people making transition, and yes, it's a tight job market, it really is about, as you said before, focusing on what you want, but bringing out that value. And unfortunately, with these college students, they're already down a little bit in terms of they don't have the experience that some other people have. And if their internship has gotten canceled, that can be demotivating. But really, what I am seeing is it is about saying, well, what else can I talk about? What other experiences did I have? How can I frame what I have done to be able to demonstrate that I'm capable of doing that next job? So it's an interesting time, but it is a little bit of a tweak, a different approach than, they may have thought before, coming out of school and, I can do anything I want. Well, you just kind of have to have a strategy.
I think that's the exact right approach. And just being proactive, having strategy, being thoughtful about it is going to be super, super important as we move forward. So again, whether you're thinking about it for yourself or your own transition in your career, I think there's lessons here. There's principles that need to be applied. But if we're really just talking about new college grads getting in, and you're bringing in, those fresh students into your team, or you're trying to help a recent grad transition and develop in their career, these are all things that are going to be really, really important to think about. So what are some of those strategies that new graduates can proactively be implementing to land those good jobs right off the bat, especially if they're missing that key internship, or, some of these other types of experiential learning opportunities that went away during the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. Thanks. So, it really is about understanding yourself. And that's when I work with college grads. That's where I start. Why do you want the job in the first place? And, it's really easy to say, well, I need a job. But really, what do you intend that job to do for you? Do you have student loans to pay off? Do you have a car payment? Do you want to move out of your parents' house and get an apartment? Do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you really want to start moving on with your life? What exactly do you expect from this job? What do you expect to get from a culture standpoint? Do you expect it to be a social outlet for you? What exactly kind of salary do you want to make? And it doesn't have to be an exact number, but it should be narrowed down to a range so that you have a sense of what you want. And I walk my executives through, as well as my new grads through, the exercise of deciding what their negotiables and non-negotiables are. So what's important to you in that job search? So, you can see even just a couple of things that I've just mentioned are nothing to do with the search in particular. It's really about preparing for the search, identifying what you want, and starting to build that strategy. And then from there, being able to say, well, what do I offer an employer? If someone were to hire me, why would they want to hire me? And again, not just because I'm, an applicant, but what am I going to bring to that organization? And it's really about helping them uncover their value. So yeah, maybe their internship got canceled. Maybe they didn't go for their study abroad they wanted. Maybe they spent 2 years working on Zoom instead of being in the classroom and doing their athletics and those kind of things. But you still did other things like cross-functional collaborations on your Zoom calls and your projects. You probably got more skills in that area than you ever expected to develop, right? What did you do that you can talk about transferable to the next employer? And that's so much helping these young people identify that so they can put words behind it and be able to explain it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I'm a college professor. And do consulting work on the side. So I've had these conversations with many students because that's something that's on the forefront of my mind. I have students going through my HR major. They're going to be leaving the university. I want them to be shovel ready. I want them to be able to hit the ground running in their career, and I want them to find success. And we put a lot of emphasis on experiential learning, on internships, on class projects, consulting projects, those sorts of things. And some of that did not necessarily go away for us, but it shifted, right, to virtual internships or virtual projects and those sorts of things. And so there were some limitations there. But on the other hand, like you just mentioned, students, the future of work is distributed teams and remote or at least hybrid work. And so being able to demonstrate that you have functioned at a high level with collaborative interdisciplinary teams on really technical, challenging strategic projects, that is a big deal. That's something you can really sell when you're going to talk to that employer in a job interview. Talk about those specific projects that you worked on. Talk about the challenges and how you overcame them. All of those components, I think, will really benefit you in the job search. And while that seems obvious to me, and as you're talking about what to proactively do, that seems obvious. But for a new college grad, that's often not actually obvious at all. They haven't really made that connection. Unless we help them, we can coach them and help them explicitly make that connection so that they'll carry that out in, the job search process, whether it's putting together and tailoring the resume, writing a cover letter, doing that initial phone screening interview, having a face-to-face interview, that they can really highlight the right things.
Yeah. The other thing too is resilience. Being able to talk about the resilience of through the challenges that they've had these past 4 years. I'll tell you, if I was hiring somebody, wouldn't I want somebody that could talk to me about that? Tell me about the challenges you faced and how you overcame them. Tell me about your disappointments and what did you do to overcome that? Because you know what, if you're going to work for me or for somebody else, you're going to have disappointments. You're going to have challenges. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, today's new grads, they've gone through much more than they ever anticipated. So use that to your advantage, just like the online learning and the cross-functional teams that you didn't have to expect that you would do, and the technology that you probably learned that you weren't planning to put on your resume, right? All of those things. And then the other thing I see too, John, and I think this is so important, is being able to create your own experiences. So what I mean by that is if that internship was taken away or the study abroad, or you didn't get to work on a particular project in person, or whatever it was that was modified because of the pandemic, think about ways to bridge that gap. How can you do something different, separate yourself out? So for instance, I had a young woman who recently got a job because they fell in love with her TikTok video that we did. And nobody else was doing them. And you hear about it, you think everybody's doing it, but they're not. And she got that. I have other clients that are doing career pitch decks or college career pitch decks, kind of telling their story through the pictures. So make yourself memorable, do something different. You want to be in broadcasting, you want to be in journalism, create a podcast, start a website, do a blog, all of these things. You didn't get the chance to do it in school? Do it now. Create it for yourself any way that you want. Isn't that empowering?
Yeah, that's interesting. So things like the barrier to entry for things like you just described are pretty much zero, right? If you have a cell phone, you can get going. Literally, you can record podcasts on your cell phone. That's not ideal. You want a little bit of equipment probably, but you can do it. You can do it, and it's not too bad. And there are free platforms out there, or simply things like TikTok. Man, that is something that's new, isn't it? Over the last couple of years, and do something creative and make an impact and demonstrate how you can make an impact to your future employer and wow them a little bit. That it costs nothing. It just takes some creativity, and you'll totally set yourself apart. This is not something that other people are doing. On the other hand, always remember that social media can be a positive, but it also can detract from and make it harder for you to land positions if people are checking you out and there's questionable content. So always be mindful of that as well.
Oh, clean up that digital footprint, folks. I don't care who you are, whether you are a new grad or anybody else. I mean, there's stuff that will follow us forever. So you do want to make sure, and particularly the generation that has grown up with, phones, for their entire lives and the internet. That's a great point to make. Clean that stuff up, folks. It will come back to haunt you.
Yeah, absolutely. So any other types of specific strategies that new college grads should be thinking about? Clearly, as you said, we need to better figure out what we want, and that's hard enough to do, by the way. So yeah. I don't want to discount that. I think back to when I was in college, I switched majors a bunch of times. And then by the time I finished undergrad, I'm going into grad school and I'm switching kind of my focus again. And then I go on for my PhD, I switch my focus yet again. And even since then, I've had a bit of a meandering career path, as many people do. So it can be really hard to know what you want, like what your core values are, what you want, and the type of job that's going to bring you meaning, fulfillment, and purpose, and what you're going to be good at, where all the, the Venn diagram, where all that intersects. That is hard. So I don't want to minimize that or dismiss that, because I know it was hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for all of you, but let's assume that we're putting in the work. We're taking the time to try to figure that out. We have some clarity around what we want. Now we want to go out and try to get it. What are some of the other key strategies that we need to be focusing on as we're doing that? Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Academy. Courses, micro-credentials, and certificates to upskill and reskill for the future of work. All HCI Academy courses, micro-credentials, and certificates are designed, developed, and delivered by award-winning and internationally renowned scholars, educators, thought leaders, executives, and practitioners. Our courses, micro-credentials, and certificates will help you make your mark on the future of work and make an immediate impact in your organizations. Check out the HCI Academy and our many course offerings and certificates to upskill and reskill for the future of work. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital, exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us. Check out Human Capital Innovations magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine with the mission to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We publish issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Take a look at the latest issue and let us know what you think.
The thing is building credibility. And, there's never been more tools to be able to do that. And certainly as a career coach, I help people do that, but there's a lot of things people can do on their own and a lot of things that I recommend to my own clients. Like, for instance, if you have your eye, you only had one class on that, or you're not really sure, and maybe even if you're not, you'd like to just even explore it a little bit more. You can take courses in that online. Right? You can sign up for a LinkedIn account and you can get LinkedIn Learning. And as you're taking these courses, you can put the badges right on your LinkedIn profile so that you can say, yes, I've taken the steps to learn even more about this, and I've learned more tools. And then oftentimes too, you can even take skills assessments and put those right on your LinkedIn. So wow, how powerful is that to be able to say, yeah, I do have these skills that I say I do. But there's places like Coursera and Udemy and all these places, you're not really sure, it serves both purposes. I'm not really sure exactly what I'd like to do, so let me learn more information. And in doing that, I'm increasing my skill set. So maybe, and I hear this a lot, I'm taking the summer off, I need to rest. Well, now it's another 3 months, that your skills are languishing, and things are changing so quickly. So if you're going to take that summer off, don't waste all that time. Certainly relax, and rejuvenation. It's so important. But by the same token, use that time to take some additional online courses potentially. I don't mean re-enroll in school unless that's what you want to do, but just, pick out some things that interest you and get some quick courses down. Take some of that online learning, be able to take credit for it. Super important. Just because it doesn't have the label of university on it doesn't mean it's not valuable. So it's a great place to start.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, you just graduated. I know you're a little bit burned out. You want to put some space between you and the classroom perhaps, but I'm a big advocate for fostering lifelong learning, right? And just, if you have a growth and abundance mindset, you don't need to be full-time doing all these Coursera or Udemy courses, 8 hours a day now that you're graduated from school. That's not what we're talking about. But hey, set aside 30 minutes a day, where you're just exploring something you're interested in. And that's the difference, because previously you had to do it for a grade. You're done with that, right? So now do it for fulfillment, do it for skill development and expansion, do what you're interested in. And it's fascinating because there have been studies on this. When you'll take like a book, for example, and a book that maybe you would love to read on your own free time just for fun, right? You put it in a classroom, you assign it as assigned reading as homework for the class, and it becomes drudgery. Now you're out of college, though. That drudgery is gone because you're not accountable to anyone for it specifically. It's not going to be for a grade. You're just doing it because it's an intrinsic motivation, because you want to do it. And the joy that comes back into simple things like reading or watching like TED videos or, doing a free online course that's just interesting to you. This may sound strange to you, and you may say, why would I want to do that? But it can be really fun once you're past the stage of trying to jump through hoops for a professor and earning a grade.
And do the stuff that interests you. Don't feel like you have to do anything you don't want, because you don't, right? And take what experience you can. So if you want to volunteer at an organization, again, that's once a week, once a month, go ahead and do that. But from that, think about what skills you're gaining, collaboration and leadership skills. Talk about those, because maybe you've missed out on some of those experiences. So there's lots of little ways that you can pull this stuff in. And isn't it a more powerful statement if you start interviewing in, say, September as opposed to May? Isn't it a powerful statement to say, you know what, I decided to regroup over the summer, and I decided to increase my skill set while I was exploring some other things. So much more powerful than, I had so much school and I just took the whole summer off, right? So you can really share what that really did for you. And so it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And this actually is a bit of a segue into my final question. And that is, let's assume now that you have actually landed that job that you wanted, you're hired, but you're still early career. So what can new graduates do to position themselves for ongoing success once they're in that first post-graduation job? A piece of this, right, is just ongoing learning. Foster a growth mindset and just continue to develop your skills. That has to be there your entire career, because just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're going to be worth much of anything to your organization 10 years down the road if you haven't continued to upskill and reskill yourself. Right. So that's an important piece. But what else do graduates need to be doing to position themselves for ongoing career success?
Well, you said growth mindset, and let's focus on that. Put your hand up for opportunities. Take whatever opportunities they put in front of you, but don't wait for them to ask. If you see something that interests you, Ask about it, volunteer for something to do with that organization. I think back on my early career too, and I had other opportunities. I could have done things, but I wasn't sure if I could. And, we think about this, but now I'm encouraging people to just ask, simply ask, can I be involved in that project? Hey, I would like to be able to do that. And certainly there might be a promotion or a raise come out of it too. Wouldn't that be awesome? But even of itself, just that additional opportunity to see what it feels like to say, I want more, give me more, let me try this, let's see what I can do with it, right? Something that interests you, and don't wait to have to ask for something. Or if they put it in front of you, find a reason to be excited about it. Try to say yes as much as you can, but put your boundaries up where things don't feel right. Certainly, that's all part of maturity. But I think what we've learned in this job market over the past couple of years, that goes for new grads and goes for executives, you always have to be prepared. You always have to take care of yourself, and are always looking for not necessarily a new job, but always ways to increase your opportunity, increase your mindset, always make yourself more marketable. What else can I do that nobody can take away from me? So if my business goes away tomorrow, did I go to that conference they offered me to go to? Did I take advantage of the additional learnings that they gave me, and the brown bag lunches, all the way to maybe to tuition reimbursement if they offered you courses, certifications? If they say, look, you could go for a certification within the next year, say, heck yeah. And where do I sign up? Nobody can ever take that away from you. So constantly thinking of ways to add to your tool belt, add more value to yourself so that you can open the door to other things later.
Perfect. Kathy, this has just been a great conversation. Lots of interesting insights, I think, that are going to be really important for listeners. Before we wrap up for today, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yeah. Hey, I'm on LinkedIn all day long. You can find me there. Kathy Lanzalaco, again, is my name. Look for my profile on there. You can also go to my website, inspirecareers.com, and you can read about my work with new grads. But I guess my final word today, John, is this is the time of year that people are focusing on new grads, and there's so much celebration going on. I guess that's the last thing I want to say too, is celebrate what you've been through. Take the time to just celebrate everything. Enjoy where you are right now. If you need help, ask for it, but just keep moving forward. Keep an open mind. You never know what might come, but make sure that you take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, that is what it always comes down to, is ourselves, and a job is a job. But start thinking about what that next step is for your career, and the path is wide open for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kathy. It's been a real pleasure. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Kathy and her team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Check out my new book, The Future Leader, Creating and Transforming Next-Gen Organizations. Stemming from 2 decades of professional experience and over 600 in-depth interviews with executives, thought leaders, and scholars from across the globe, The Future Leader will help you explore the ordinary, everyday actions that will help you to prepare to lead in the future of work, to respond to an uncertain future, and to produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership, the journey of becoming a truly remarkable leader. Early in my adult life, I learned about an Asian proverb that translates as bluer than indigo. If you think about the color indigo, it is a brilliant, deep, and vibrant blue, what some would call the bluest of blues. To have something that is bluer than indigo is rare and truly remarkable. Contrary to popular myth, there is no one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach to effective leadership. There is no silver bullet, no secret sauce, no go-to model that will solve all of your problems. The truth is, great leaders have all had their unique strengths and flaws, and have all had to discover and then pave their own distinctive path in their life's journey to fulfill their leadership potential. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership will help you discover your own path and explore those ordinary, everyday actions that will help you respond to an uncertain future and produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership. Ordinary, everyday actions that produce extraordinary results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.